Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and today we are going to talk about the recently implemented GE tax. First of all, let's go over what the Grand Exchange tax is. Anytime that you sell your items on the Grand Exchange now, you're going to be taxed a little bit of money by the man. It's a flat 1% tax that they have added. Any item below 100 coins will not be taxed, and any items above 500 mil are going to be capped at 5 mil. So if you sell something for a bill, you won't be taxed 10 mil for that 1%. Rather, you still get taxed 5 mil. Jagex originally went for a 2% tax instead, but enough players complained that they weren't very happy about it, so they dropped it to a simple 1%. It's only 1k that you lose if you sell a 100k item. It's really not that bad. I guarantee that too many of you are using that minus 5% button on the Grand Exchange anyway, since you want your stuff to sell right away. You don't have enough time to sit there and wait for stuff to sell for an extra 1-2% worth of cash, because it's not that much. All of you, it's me. It's me. I'm the one using too much of the minus 5% button. Look, overall 2% is still very minuscule, and I personally don't have any issue with it, but for now, we got the 1%, and I'll be talking about my opinion on the tax a little bit more later. So this tax was first of all implemented as a gold sink for the game, which Jagex did kind of need since the duel arena is going out of business, and they had a tax in the duel arena that was taking out a ton of coins. Overall, the more coins in the game, the less coins are worth. This is a discussion that can be made about any currency in the real world too, and it's not really what we're trying to talk about in this discussion video. I'm personally all for a coin sink, but what they're doing with the coins is far more interesting. All of our tax money is going to go into a pool which will begin to buy higher level items and just delete them from the game. So for an easy example, once our tax money is enough to buy a twisted bow will just be bought off the GE from somebody selling it, meaning that a player will still receive money for that twisted bow, and then Jagex will just remove the twisted bow from the overall twisted bow supply. So this does actually make this less of a gold sink, since some of the gold will just be going right back to a player. That's not actually removing any money from the game. That's kind of like if you think an item's being removed from the game just because it got PK'd. Well, PKers are just going to go sell that back on the market, so that's not removing anything from the game either. If it's sold on the market, it's just going back to another player. From what I know, they don't plan on using every coin tax. It's not actually all of our coins going into this pool. It's just going to be a portion of them, so that they're going to be deleting some coins and some items. This is the first legit item sink that I've seen in the game that doesn't have anything to do with, like, using items for charges. For instance, an Abyssal Whip being used in a tentacle, it's a good way to get rid of whips, but it's hard to add a mechanic like that for every item in the game. With the GE tax pool, Jagex can just decide to help the supply of any item that they think is becoming oversaturated. Why would we need to get rid of items? Well, just like the case with gold, the higher quantity of an item in the game, the lower the price is going to be. Supply and demand is a very simple concept, and it is hard for the demand for high-level items to keep up with the supply as long as players are just grinding out those items for profit. There's not a ton of people trying to buy a T-bow, but there are a lot of people doing raids. So, if items are never removed from the game, but always being added in the game through drops that are constantly being grinded out, then the price is inevitably going to fall. Having items removed from the game and removed from the overall supply is very good for high prices. If you're currently saving up for a good piece of gear, you probably don't really want high prices, but higher prices are going to be better in the long run. If you're trying to get better gear, then you're probably trying to get that gear to go do bossing or some of this higher level stuff, and bossing is really useless if the price of all of those drops are currently at rock bottom. The moment that I read about this idea for the Grand Exchange tax, I was pretty pumped. I've made videos in the past talking about why items land at certain prices, diving deeper into what exactly affects the supply and demand of an item, and what I've always said is that there needs to be more item sinks. If they simply remove items from the game, that will tend to help the prices stay higher, or at least not drop nearly as much. An item sink can really blow if it's done through something like death mechanics, though. I've said in the past, I've suggested that deaths should be more punishing, removing more items from the game. That would really blow to just lose a super expensive item, though. That would blow for the individual player. With the GE tax, instead of taking something away from one poor soul, someone is still paid for their drop, but overall the supply of the item does not increase. This is a combination of things that we definitely needed. They did release a full list of items that they are currently removing from the game with the Grand Exchange tax. Clearly this list could grow and shrink depending on how well the tax is working. So for the first draft of the GE tax, the list of items that they're going to be trying to remove include Abyssal Bludgeons, Arcane and Spectral Spirit Shields, not the Elysian, Armadil and Bandos Armor, the Dark Bow, Din's Bulwark, Elder Mauls, all 4 God Swords, Armadil, Bandos, Saradomin, and Zamorak. I like how they had to tell us not the new next God Sword that hasn't come out yet. Kodai Insignias, Kraken Tentacles, the Nightmare Staff, and any of the Orb Drops, unfortunately not including the Inquisitors in here. The Occult Necklace, Prayer Reward Scrolls. Dude, the Arcane and the Dexterous Prayer Scroll definitely need a bit of a sink on them. Ceradoman swords, those are also doing very poor price-wise. The Scythe of Vitur, Smoke Battle Staves, Toxic Blowpipes, the Trident of the Seas, of course the Twisted Bow, and then the Zamorakian Spear. So really, they're going for a lot of high-level items with like Raids gear, there's a Zulrah drop in there, God Wars Dungeon, higher-level Slayer bosses in general, just those drops that are constantly being grinded out. Now let's go ahead and check out a couple of those prices and see how they changed over the last week. So each of these screenshots is showing a full month of price changes on these items, so it's only the last quarter of it. And you can see in each of these items that there is a bump right as the Grand Exchange tax happened, but for most of them, that has started to drop again. With Raids 3 coming up and also Next being announced, the prices of PVM gear was already on the rise. So obviously these trends are not just from the GE tax. A lot of items did jump up in price and they're either settling or dropping back down after that initial bump. Prices don't necessarily need to just always go up for this to be a good thing. I'm not saying that everything should just be more and more expensive. Prices don't just always need to be rising. If items could just hold their value at a good number, that's a very ideal situation. So even if items aren't rising in price, if the tax is just slowing the fall of prices, then it is helping out a little bit. So when it comes down to it, the Grand Exchange tax has made a few small dents on the pockets of those that are selling their items in the Grand Exchange, which at first does kind of suck. I guess this does promote for trading off of the Grand Exchange too. You could just stand around the GE to do it, but maybe we could bring back Falador Park for a little bit of nostalgia. When it comes to those top money-making drops, you're going to make a lot more profit in the long run if the price is higher. And you may not be currently on those top moneymakers, but eventually you do get to that point. And then once you're at that point, those are the moneymakers that get repeated the most. It's not like there's a new moneymaker to do after you're at the top moneymaker. So, in general, higher prices for these things are a thumbs up from me, but it does remain to be seen exactly how this tax is going to continue to affect the price of these items. I have a feeling Jagex is definitely going to try to bump the tax up to that original 2% that they threw out there in the first place, and honestly, I am all for it. If the GE tax is not doing exactly as much as they wanted it to, they definitely are going to want to try to tax more money. It's possible that the percentage of money being taxed, like some of that money is just being deleted and then the rest is going to buying items. Maybe less of that money will be deleted and they'll try to buy more items if they felt like the tax is not doing enough, but very likely they'll at least attempt to raise the tax on us at one point. Even a 2% tax on your sales is a very small amount of cash, and it's a small price to pay for all these other items being worth grinding out again. That's where I was going to wrap up the video, but just a couple of hours before this video was supposed to come out, we got an update from Jagex about the GE tax. Apparently, they are sinking about 30 billion GP per day on average, which is crazy. There's so much cash, and they are saying that they can use that money to sink even more items. They also point out here that even though they don't have plans to change the tax in the future, they're saying how they could change up the tax where things like skilling items are still considered the same 1% tax, and then like cosmetics could be 1.5%. There's no doubt they're trying to ease us into the fact that I think they would like to tax a little bit more than what they're taxing right now. They also added a ton of items to the item sinks, including Amulet of Torture, Ancestral Hat, Robe Top, and Robe Bottom, the Archer's Ring, Avernic Defender Hilt, Berserker Ring, Seer's Ring, Warrior Ring, Dragon Pickaxe, Dragon Warhammer, Dragon Hunter Lance, Hydra's Claw, all the Inquisitor's pieces, which I already brought up before that I was kind of surprised weren't on there, the Kodai Wand, Necklace of Anguish, Ring of Suffering, the Sanguinesti Staff, Sarachnis Cudgel, Tormentor Bracelet, Twisted Buckler, Cut and Uncut Zenites, and a Zenite Shard. Those are a lot of items that are generally pretty valuable, and if they continue to go up in price, is going to be very nice for a lot of PVM life. It's nice to already see an update on the GE tax only 1 week in. It's clear that this is a pretty big deal in Jagex's eyes, and they are going to keep us updated on it, trying to make sure that the GE tax can be helpful for all of us. That is going to wrap it up for this discussion video about the Grand Exchange, everybody. Be sure to continue the discussion below in the comments section and tell me what you think of the Grand Exchange taking some of your money from you. So far, for a discussion, it's really been one-sided if you're just sitting here listening to me rant about it, so continue that discussion below. If you like this video or you just got some useful information out of it, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I do stream on Twitch currently 6 days a week, which should be linked on the screen and in the description. I am also on Twitter and have a Discord, which are also linked in the description. Thank you very much for watching this video, everybody, and the best of luck on your 99% money-making gains.